The Prometheus traveled through the galaxy, leaving a trail of curiosity and whispers in its wake. Humans were no longer unseen. Every civilization they passed watched their movements with interest. Some hoped to meet them, others feared them, and a few plotted in silence. Captain Alara Voss gathered her crew on the bridge. "Our mission is no longer just discovery," she said. "We have made allies and we have uncovered knowledge from our ancestors. Now we must show the galaxy that humans can bring unity where there is doubt, hope where there is fear, and creativity where there is stagnation." Their next destination was the planet Ardalis, a strategic hub where three alien civilizations, the Corellians, the Xeran Dominion, and the Orvathi, had long disputed control over resources. For decades, these civilizations had maintained an uneasy peace, but tensions were high, and disputes often threatened war.
Humans were about to arrive in the middle of it all. The Prometheus descended slowly.
Cities sprawled across Ardalis, vast and interconnected, yet divided by boundaries and energy shields. Alara could feel the tension from orbit. These were intelligent species, capable of advanced technology, but history had made them cautious, suspicious, and often unwilling to trust outsiders. The humans decided to send a diplomatic delegation first, accompanied by engineers and scientists to observe and assist if necessary. Captain Alara knew that direct interference could backfire. Diplomacy and demonstration of skill would be key. Upon arrival, representatives from the three civilizations were waiting. Tall Xyran soldiers, sleek Orvathi diplomats, and shimmering Corellian scholars, all eyes focused on the humans. Suspicion hung in the air like a heavy fog. Alara stepped forward. "We come in peace," she said. "We have observed your world and the challenges you face. Our intention is to help, not to dominate, not to judge. We bring knowledge, creativity, and solutions born from centuries of human experience." The aliens listened, but skepticism was visible in every gesture. The Xyran were particularly wary, their rigid posture signaling doubt. The Orvathi, known for subtle diplomacy, remained neutral but watchful. Only the Corellians showed a hint of trust, remembering the humans' actions on Seralis 7. The first test came sooner than expected. A sudden energy failure hit Ardalis's central power grid, threatening the entire city network. Lights flickered, water supplies were disrupted, and communication systems wavered. Panic spread quickly. Without hesitation, humans acted. Engineers and scientists moved across the city, coordinating with alien technicians. Humans studied the energy network and devised a solution, one that combined human ingenuity with the unique technologies of all three civilizations. They suggested rerouting energy, stabilizing power nodes, and synchronizing the systems. Aliens were skeptical at first, unwilling to let humans take the lead. But humans worked quickly, explaining each step calmly and clearly. The Xyran, who trusted only control, could not ignore the results. Slowly, they joined the effort, following human guidance. After hours of careful work, the city was stabilized. Power returned, communication lines were restored, and water systems flowed once again. The aliens watched in awe. Humans had not forced a solution. They had demonstrated understanding, coordination, and adaptability. The Corellians nodded appreciatively. "Humans do not act for themselves," a Corellian scholar said. "They act for the greater good. That is rare in the galaxy." Even the Xyran, initially skeptical, could not hide their respect. "Their methods are efficient," one officer admitted. "They consider factors we often overlook. Perhaps there is merit in their approach." The event was more than a technical success. It became a lesson in unity. The three civilizations, who had long competed and doubted one another, began to see that collaboration was possible. Humans had shown that cooperation, guided by intelligence and empathy, could solve problems that fear and rivalry could not. Captain Alara addressed the assembly of alien leaders. "You have all faced challenges that require more than strength," she said. "It is not just technology, not just power, it is understanding, creativity, and working together. Humans are not here to rule, but to remind you that unity is stronger than division." The leaders remained cautious but intrigued. They had witnessed humans act without selfish ambition, without force, and without arrogance. The result was undeniable. Humans inspired trust and collaboration, even among civilizations who had long doubted one another. The Prometheus crew continued to assist. learning from the alien systems while teaching methods to optimize efficiency and prevent future crises. Dr. Torrin Vega marveled at the diversity of energy networks. Each civilization thinks differently, he said, but humans can adapt to any system. That is why we are so effective, not because we dominate, but because we observe, understand, and innovate. The day's events concluded with a council meeting. Alien representatives began discussing long-standing disputes in new ways, guided by human suggestions. They explored ideas for resource sharing, joint infrastructure projects, and shared research initiatives. Humans were not dictating terms, they were providing perspective, enabling others to see solutions they had overlooked. Alara watched quietly. She realized that humanity's role was not to conquer, but to ignite potential. The galaxy had grown complacent, rigid, and afraid of change. Humans could show what was possible when intelligence, creativity, and morality worked together. As the Prometheus prepared to depart Ardalis, a subtle shift was visible among the alien civilizations. Skepticism remained, yes, but it was now tempered with curiosity and respect. The humans' actions had planted seeds of cooperation, trust, and inspiration. Even the Zirathi Council, monitoring from afar, took note. Humans had proven themselves in action, not words. Their efficiency, problem-solving skills, and empathy made them unpredictable and influential. The council members realized that trying to control humans would be more difficult than anticipated. Back on the Prometheus, Alara gathered her crew. "Today we did more than repair a city," she said. "We showed the galaxy what humans can do when they combine intelligence, empathy, and creativity. That is how legends are made, not through force but through action that inspires others to see a better way." The crew felt a sense of accomplishment, but also the weight of the path ahead. There were many civilizations still wary, many worlds that had grown rigid in their thinking, and challenges that would test humans in ways they could not yet predict. But one thing was certain: humanity had a role, and that role was to lead by example. As the Prometheus left Ardalis behind, signals appeared from neighboring sectors. Civilizations that had watched in silence now began sending cautious messages, seeking guidance, cooperation, or even insight into the humans' methods. Humans were becoming a catalyst in the galaxy, not through fear or domination, but through ingenuity, empathy, and the ability to unite diverse beings. Captain Alara gazed out at the stars. She knew the path forward would be difficult. Challenges awaited, some from natural dangers, others from civilizations unwilling to accept change. But she also knew that humans had an advantage no other species possessed: the ability to adapt, to innovate, and to inspire without force. Humanity's legend was growing. It was no longer whispered in fear or told in myths. It was alive, moving, and influencing the galaxy in ways that even the oldest civilizations could not ignore. The Prometheus sailed onward, carrying humans toward new worlds, new discoveries, and the next challenge, one that would test their ingenuity, wisdom, and the very principles that made humanity unique. The galaxy was beginning to understand. Humans were not conquerors, not threats, they were a force of inspiration. And as civilizations watched, the ripple of their actions spread further than anyone could have imagined. The legend of humanity had awakened, and the galaxy was starting to see that humans were capable of uniting the stars, not by power, but by example. The Prometheus moved gracefully through the stars, carrying humans who had awakened a galaxy from complacency. Captain Alara Voss stood on the bridge, watching as new signals from distant worlds appeared on the sensors. Everywhere they went, civilizations were curious, cautious, and increasingly respectful. Humanity's return had become a story the galaxy could no longer ignore. Alara knew that the time had come for humanity to take its next step. It was no longer enough to inspire small communities. The galaxy itself needed to witness the full potential of human ingenuity, cooperation, and compassion. The humans were ready to show that their return was more than survival. It was a chance to shape the future. Their destination was the Core Cluster, a region of densely populated systems, political hubs, and the home of the Zirathi Council. This area had long resisted change, preferring control, order, and predictable routines. The humans' arrival here would be watched closely, and every action would ripple across countless civilizations. As the Prometheus entered the Core Cluster, fleets from multiple species converged. Some came to observe, others to challenge. A council representative contacted the humans. "Humans," the voice said, calm yet formal. "Your presence here is noted. You have demonstrated unusual skills, but the galaxy's balance is fragile. Proceed with caution." Ilara's reply was measured. "We understand the importance of balance. We do not seek to dominate or disrupt. Our actions are guided by knowledge, cooperation, and respect for life. But we cannot hide from our purpose, to share what humans can contribute to the galaxy's future." The first challenge emerged immediately. A natural disaster struck Valor Prime, a core cluster world with millions of inhabitants. A planetary storm of unprecedented scale threatened entire cities, energy grids, and transportation networks. Civilizations with advanced technology struggled to coordinate, each working in isolation. Humans acted without hesitation. Engineers, scientists, and strategists worked together, coordinating with the planet's authorities. They combined knowledge from multiple civilizations, applied human creativity, and devised solutions that no single species had considered. Energy shields were reinforced, evacuation systems optimized, and resources redistributed efficiently. The operation was not simple. Obstacles appeared at every turn. Failing power conduits, damaged transport systems, and communication delays. Yet humans adapted. They innovated, guided alien teams, and solved problems using both skill and intuition. The storm passed, but the disaster could have been catastrophic without their intervention. Leaders from across Valor Prime and nearby systems watched in amazement. "Humans," one alien said quietly, "they see the whole picture. They do not act for themselves, they act for everyone." This success brought the humans more than gratitude. It brought trust. Civilizations that had long been suspicious of one another began communicating openly, sharing strategies, and considering new forms of cooperation. Humans were not enforcing unity, they were enabling it. Meanwhile, the Zirathi Council observed from afar. Even the council members who had once doubted humanity recognized a truth they could no longer ignore. Humans were not reckless or destructive. Their influence was transformative, constructive, and inspiring. Attempts to control or contain humans would be futile. Captain Ilara gathered her crew in the Prometheus's central hall. "This is what humans can achieve," she said. "Not by force, not by fear, but by creativity, compassion, and intelligence. Every challenge we face reminds the galaxy that humans are more than a legend. We are proof that cooperation, ingenuity, and courage can change worlds." The crew understood the magnitude of their journey. They had awakened the galaxy to possibilities it had long forgotten. Worlds were learning to work together, leaders were reconsidering old conflicts, and new alliances were forming. Humans had become a catalyst for progress, and the galaxy was beginning to see the truth. Humanity was not a threat. Humanity was an inspiration. As the Prometheus traveled from system to system, humans discovered more relics of their ancestors, tools designed to improve agriculture, energy management, and communication. These relics, combined with human adaptability, allowed civilizations to flourish in ways they had never imagined. Humans shared knowledge generously, always respectful of each species' culture and autonomy. One evening, Ilara reflected on the journey. "We have not conquered," she said softly to her second in command. "We have guided. We have inspired. That is how humanity returns, not as rulers but as reminders of what is possible." The crew smiled, knowing the truth of her words. For centuries, humans had been underestimated, feared, and forgotten. Now they were shaping the galaxy through example, showing that intelligence, creativity, and empathy were far more powerful than weapons or domination. The final test came unexpectedly. A coalition of skeptical civilizations, still wary of humans' influence, challenged the Prometheus near the stellar nexus, a cluster of key trading and political hubs. They demanded humans explain their intentions and submit to oversight. Ilara responded calmly. "We have acted openly, guided by respect and understanding. We have helped, shared knowledge, and prevented disasters. We do not seek control, but we will not hide from our responsibility. Humanity's return is about possibilities, not domination. Instead of confrontation, humans demonstrated their abilities through action. They assisted in stabilizing a collapsing orbital station, coordinated rescue operations during a transport failure, and facilitated communication among feuding civilizations. Every demonstration reinforced their approach: solution-focused, inclusive, and innovative. The coalition realized that humans were unlike any species they had encountered. They were adaptable, intelligent, and capable of inspiring cooperation across differences. Fear turned into respect, skepticism into curiosity. For the first time, these civilizations understood that humanity's legend was real, and its influence was constructive and enduring. At the Stellar Nexus, humans convened a council with leaders from dozens of civilizations. Plans were made for shared research, resource exchange, and joint exploration. Ancient rivalries softened as trust grew. Humans guided the discussion, not with authority but with insight, creativity, and empathy. Alara watched quietly as the council unfolded. Humans were no longer just explorers. They were leaders in inspiration, collaboration, and problem-solving. The galaxy was learning that strength came not from domination, but from intelligence, cooperation, and moral clarity. Finally, as the Prometheus left the core cluster, Ilara gazed at the stars. "The galaxy has begun to change," she said. "We have shown that humans can unite what was divided, inspire what was stagnant, and create possibilities where none existed before. That is humanity's legacy. That is what we return to offer." The crew understood. Humanity had faced skepticism, fear, and misunderstanding, yet they had remained true to their values: intelligence, creativity, courage, and empathy. The galaxy, once trembling at the thought of humans, now looked forward to their guidance. Dr. Vega smiled as he studied sensor readings. "Captain, every civilization we visit now shows signs of cooperation, curiosity, and innovation. The ripple of humanity's return is spreading faster than we imagined." Ilara nodded. "And it will continue to spread. Humans are not myths anymore. We are proof that even in a galaxy full of ancient civilizations, ingenuity, empathy, and courage can light the path forward." As the Prometheus sailed into the unknown, leaving the core cluster behind, signals from countless worlds appeared. Messages of gratitude, curiosity, and requests for guidance filled the communication channels. Humanity's legend had become reality, and the galaxy was embracing it. Ilara reflected on the journey. Humans had returned not to dominate, but to inspire. They had faced danger, skepticism, and doubt, and had responded with intelligence, creativity, and compassion. The galaxy had seen their potential, and in doing so, it had awakened to a new era. The Prometheus moved toward distant stars, carrying humans whose influence was no longer whispered in fear or myth. It was celebrated. Civilizations collaborated, knowledge spread, and hope grew. Humanity had returned, and the galaxy was forever changed. Captain Ilara smiled as she looked out at the endless cosmos. The stars shimmered with possibilities. The legend of humanity had awakened, and the galaxy now knew the truth. Humans were extraordinary, not because of power, but because of their ability to create, inspire, and unite. The journey of humanity was far from over, but one thing was certain: their return had reminded the stars what humans could achieve, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The morning on Zephyra was calm, almost deceptive. The twin suns rose slowly over the glowing forest, painting the treetops with gold and soft pink. Ethan and his team were ready for another day of exploration, while Leora lingered nearby, watching them with curiosity. For days, their connection had grown stronger. Leora had begun to mimic human gestures and expressions more naturally. She had learned simple tasks, and her glowing patterns now reflected her emotions in ways that Ethan could almost read. Their bond had deepened from cautious curiosity to something resembling mutual respect, admiration, and trust. But the universe rarely gave peace for long. From the edge of the forest came a distant, low rumble. Ethan's sensors picked it up almost immediately. Another alien presence, this one unfamiliar, approaching rapidly. He signaled his team to stay calm. "Everyone, positions," he whispered, his voice steady. Leora's glowing patterns flickered in warning shades of orange and red. She had sensed danger before, but had never seen a threat approach in this manner. The new creatures were unlike anything they had encountered. Sleek, predatory, and highly intelligent, they moved in coordinated packs. Their bodies reflected the light of Zephyra's glowing flora, giving them an almost camouflage-like effect. They were curious, territorial, and clearly aware of the humans' presence. Ethan knew that confrontation would be dangerous. But retreat was not an option. The team had documented critical research, and the area held resources vital for understanding Zephyra's ecosystem. He looked at Leora, who mirrored his determination. She did not speak his language, but her eyes conveyed readiness. Together they would face the challenge. The creatures emerged from the forest, moving quickly yet cautiously. Ethan's team formed a circle around Leora, who took a position slightly ahead, using her knowledge of the forest to anticipate their movements. Her glowing skin pulsed with intensity, warning the humans of the creature's approach. Ethan acted quickly, setting up a perimeter with holographic barriers that flickered softly in the forest light. The creatures paused, sensing the energy of the barriers but not deterred. They circled, testing the humans' reactions. Ethan signaled Leora, who used her glowing signals to guide the team through hidden paths, avoiding direct confrontation. The first encounter was tense. A creature lunged at one of the drones, crushing it under its limbs. Ethan reacted instinctively, protecting Leora and guiding the team to safer ground. Leora mirrored his movements, helping them navigate the dense forest. Her knowledge of Zephyra's terrain became invaluable. After several minutes of careful maneuvering, they reached a clearing near a glowing waterfall. The creatures paused at the edge, uncertain. Ethan knew they needed to act strategically. He instructed his team to use non-lethal deterrents, bright lights, sound pulses, and holographic illusions. The creatures tested each method, retreating briefly before advancing again. Leora stepped forward, using her glowing patterns to communicate with the creatures. The colors shifted in patterns the humans could not fully understand, but the creatures paused, studying her signals. Ethan realized that Leora's presence was more powerful than any technology. They respected her. With careful coordination, the humans and Leora worked together to guide the creatures away from the camp. Ethan led the group, signaling and moving with precision while Leora used her instincts and natural signals. The creatures finally retreated, leaving the clearing calm once more. Ethan exhaled slowly, feeling a rush of relief. Leora's skin flickered in soft, calming shades, signaling her own relief and satisfaction. She approached Ethan cautiously, placing a gentle hand on his arm, a gesture of trust and gratitude. The humans had witnessed something extraordinary, a human and an alien working together seamlessly, combining courage, intelligence, and emotional connection to face a threat. Leora's admiration for Ethan and his team deepened, and Ethan's respect for her grew even more. Humans were resourceful and resilient, but Leora realized they were also capable of forming bonds that transcended species. As the day continued, Ethan decided to explore further, taking Leora along. They discovered hidden caves illuminated by bioluminescent fungi, rivers that glowed softly in the sunlight, and ancient trees whose roots formed natural bridges. Leora guided the humans with ease, pointing out dangers and safe paths with subtle signals. During a quiet moment near a small glowing pond, Ethan sat on a rock and gestured for Leora to sit beside him. The water reflected the twin suns, creating a kaleidoscope of colors that danced across the surface. Ethan handed her a small crystal he had found earlier. She touched it delicately, her glowing skin rippling in appreciation. "You've taught me much," Ethan said softly, though he doubted she could understand every word. "And I've learned more than I expected." Leora tilted her head, her eyes reflecting a mixture of curiosity and wonder. She had learned to trust humans, to follow their guidance, and to recognize their patience and care. But what surprised her most was something deeper: admiration. She admired not just their strength but their courage, empathy, and willingness to protect those who could not protect themselves. Suddenly, a rustling sound came from the trees. Ethan's sensors picked up movement, another creature, smaller but faster, darting through the foliage. It lunged toward Leora. Without hesitation, Ethan shielded her, taking the brunt of the attack with his arm. The creature recoiled, startled by the human's bravery, and retreated into the forest. Leora's glowing skin shimmered brighter than ever, a silent signal of awe and gratitude. She had never seen a human act with such courage, putting themselves at risk to protect another being. In that moment, she realized that humans were remarkable not just for their intelligence, but for their hearts. Ethan smiled at her, though he winced from the minor injury on his arm. "You're safe," he whispered. Leora's eyes reflected a mixture of emotions, relief, admiration, and something new, a growing sense of connection. The day wore on, and the team set up a temporary camp near the waterfall. Ethan and Leora sat together observing the glowing waters. She traced patterns in the water with her fingers, her glowing skin creating shimmering reflections. Ethan watched her, feeling a quiet sense of awe. Humans had explored countless worlds, but few experiences were as profound as this. Learning from and connecting with a being so different, yet so intelligent and perceptive. As evening approached, Ethan decided to test another form of communication. He picked up a small glowing plant and handed it to Leora. She studied it carefully, then placed it in a small container filled with soil. The plant responded to her touch, glowing brighter than before. Ethan nodded, impressed by her understanding and adaptability. "You're amazing," he said softly. Leora froze for a moment, her glowing skin flickering in reaction. The word, the tone, the admiration, it was something she had never experienced before. She had learned about humans' patience and courage, but admiration was new. It stunned her, leaving her momentarily speechless. Night fell over Zephyra, and the twin moons reflected in the glowing lake. Leora and Ethan sat quietly, the forest alive with soft light and gentle sounds. They did not need words. Their shared experiences, gestures, and glowing signals had created a bridge of understanding. Ethan reached out slowly, placing a hand near hers. Leora hesitated, then mirrored his gesture. The contact was brief but electric. Both felt it, a quiet recognition that they were more than observer and observed. It was a bond formed through courage, patience, and mutual respect. The night deepened, and the forest seemed to whisper in approval. Leora had learned the value of human bravery and kindness, while Ethan had discovered that first contact was about more than science. It was about trust, understanding, and connection. They would face challenges ahead, new threats that would test their bond, their courage, and their understanding of each other. But for now, in the quiet glow of Zephyra, they had passed the first true test. Humans had shown their worth not through weapons or technology, but through their hearts. Leora's admiration for Ethan had grown into something profound. She had seen humans act with selflessness, intelligence, and courage. She had learned to trust them, and in doing so, she discovered a new way to see the universe, not as a place of danger alone, but as a world where connection, care, and admiration could bridge even the deepest divides. Ethan, watching Leora shimmer under the twin moons, realized the same truth. Humans could inspire hope, trust, and admiration across worlds. Their actions, small or grand, could leave lasting impressions, building connections that transcended species, language, and distance. And as they sat together, sharing the quiet beauty of Zephyra, both understood something important, that the journey was far from over. There would be tests, dangers, and challenges ahead, but they would face them together, guided by trust, courage, and the simple, powerful knowledge that humans could touch hearts in ways no weapon or technology ever could. The Prometheus sailed silently through the stars, carrying the hope and curiosity of humanity. After their first contact with the Carillions, Captain Alara Voss and her crew felt the weight of responsibility. Humans were no longer hidden. Every civilization in the nearby sectors was aware of their return. Some welcomed it. Others watched with suspicion. One day, as the ship drifted near the Xeris belt, sensors picked up unusual energy readings. Dr. Torin Vega examined the data. "Captain, these signals are not natural. They appear to be artificial, and very old. Possibly human in origin." Ilara leaned forward, intrigued. "Show me." The holographic display revealed a network of ruins on a small rocky planet. Strange geometric patterns glowed faintly beneath the surface. "This could be a lost human outpost," Vega said. "From centuries ago. It may hold technologies or records left by our ancestors." The decision was unanimous. The Prometheus would descend and explore. Humans were curious by nature, and the chance to rediscover their own history was too important to ignore. As the shuttle approached the planet, its rocky surface shimmered under the light of a distant star. The ruins appeared suddenly, a series of pyramids and towers connected by glowing pathways. The structures radiated energy, almost as if they were waiting for humans to return. Upon landing, the crew explored cautiously. The air was breathable, the ground firm, and the silence deep. Captain Alara led the team to the largest pyramid. "These designs are advanced," Dr. Vega said. They are older than anything we built before leaving the galaxy. Whoever created this understood energy, matter, and information in ways even we are only beginning to grasp. Inside, the walls were lined with devices and holographic interfaces. Ancient human writing glowed faintly, translating automatically through the ship's universal translator. Records explained long-forgotten discoveries, methods to harness energy from stars, techniques to repair planets, even plans for faster-than-light travel. These were gifts from humans to humans, left behind for a time when humanity might return. Captain Alara felt a surge of pride. "We are not the first humans to reach the stars," she said softly. "Our ancestors prepared this for us. They believed in a future we could inherit." As the crew studied the relics, sensors suddenly detected movement in orbit. Ships appeared, sleek, dark, and organized. The Zirathi Council, a coalition of powerful alien species, had arrived. They had been watching humanity's return carefully, their mistrust growing with every new action humans took. The Zirathi were not openly hostile, but their intentions were clear. They wanted to monitor, control, and if necessary, prevent humans from spreading influence. A council representative, appearing as a holographic projection, addressed the Prometheus. "Humans," the voice said, calm but firm. "Your presence is noted. Your activities are being observed. Do not attempt to interfere with the galaxy's balance." Ilara responded with measured respect. "We mean no harm. We seek only to understand, to learn, and to honor the legacy of humanity. We do not intend to disrupt the galaxy, but we will not hide either." The Zirathi representative paused. "Your actions are unpredictable. We advise caution. The galaxy is older than your species. Do not forget this." Then the projection vanished. Ilara turned to her crew. "They fear us," she said quietly. "Not because we are strong, but because they do not understand us. That is humanity's advantage. We can think differently. We can adapt. That is our gift." The Zirathi's warning was unsettling, but it also confirmed a truth the humans had sensed. Their return had not gone unnoticed, and it was changing the galaxy. Some civilizations might welcome them, some might challenge them, and others might attempt to manipulate them. Humans would need wisdom as much as courage. While the Prometheus remained on the planet, the crew continued to explore the ruins. They discovered storage rooms filled with ancient star charts, energy conduits, and instructions for technologies that could transform entire worlds. Dr. Vega's eyes lit up as he studied a device capable of extracting energy from planetary cores safely. "This is incredible," Vega said. "Our ancestors were thinking centuries ahead. They knew humans might return, and they left us the tools to thrive. But the discoveries also carried caution. Many devices required careful handling, and misuse could cause unintended consequences." The crew understood the responsibility they carried. They were not just explorers. They were stewards of a legacy that could shape the future of the galaxy. As humans worked, they began to notice subtle patterns in the ruins, hidden signals, encoded messages, and guidance that seemed intended for them alone. It was as if the ancestors had anticipated challenges, rivals, and the need for humans to act wisely. Meanwhile, the Zirathi observed from orbit. They noticed the humans' efficiency, intelligence, and careful approach. Their caution deepened. Humans were not reckless. They were deliberate, creative, and cooperative. This was unusual. Most species acted predictably, but humans were difficult to anticipate. An emergency arose suddenly. A small tremor shook the ruins. Ancient energy conduits sparked unpredictably. If the systems failed, the entire planet could be destabilized. Humans acted immediately. Engineers and scientists collaborated using intuition, experience, and quick reasoning. They stabilized the conduits, redirecting energy and reinforcing structural nodes. The Zirathi watched silently. The humans had prevented disaster without confrontation. They had used intelligence and teamwork, not weapons or intimidation. Slowly, the observers began to understand what made humans extraordinary. They were adaptable, resourceful, and thoughtful under pressure. Captain Ilara gathered her team afterward. "Every challenge we face teaches us something," she said. "Our ancestors left us tools, but it is our minds that make them powerful. That is how humans shape the galaxy, not through force, but through wisdom and action." As the Prometheus prepared to leave the planet, a deeper realization emerged. Humans had not only returned, They had found evidence that the galaxy's balance might be influenced by their actions. The Zirathi, while powerful, could not predict every decision humans might make, and that unpredictability was both a risk and an opportunity. Dr. Vega reflected on the implications. The galaxy is full of systems and species that have grown comfortable, he said. Humans remind them that change is possible. That is why some will fear us and others will seek our guidance. Ilara nodded. We must act carefully, but we cannot hide. Humanity's return is about more than survival. It is about showing the galaxy what is possible when intelligence, creativity, and compassion are combined. As the Prometheus lifted off, leaving the ruins behind, a faint hum of energy lingered in the planet's atmosphere. The messages from the past were clear. Humanity had been expected, and humanity had the potential to awaken new possibilities across the stars. The journey ahead was uncertain. Some civilizations might challenge them, others might resist change, and the Zirathi Council would continue to watch. Yet humans were not afraid. They were prepared to learn, to act wisely, and to prove that their return was not a threat but a source of hope and innovation. In the quiet of space, Captain Ilara reflected on the mission so far. Humanity had faced skepticism, fear, and misunderstanding, but they had responded with creativity, empathy, and intelligence. That was their greatest strength. Legends had warned the galaxy about humans, but now the galaxy would see the truth. Humans were not myths. They were living proof of what ingenuity and courage could achieve. The Prometheus sailed onward, moving deeper into uncharted sectors. Ancient relics had shown humans the path, but it was their choices, wisdom, and adaptability that would define their journey. The galaxy was vast, full of challenges and opportunities alike, and somewhere in that vastness, the Zirathi and other civilizations would learn that humanity was no longer a story from the past. It was a force that would shape the future. The legend of humanity had awakened, and the galaxy had only just begun to feel the ripple of its return. The forest of Zephyra glowed softly under the twin suns, but an unusual tension hung in the air. Captain Ethan Cole and his team had grown accustomed to the planet's wonders, but the recent appearance of hostile alien creatures reminded them that exploration was never without danger. Today, however, there was no immediate threat. Leora moved gracefully through the trees, her shimmering skin reflecting the morning light. She had learned much from the humans over the past days, their patience, courage, and kindness, but today felt different. She sensed a change, a moment that could mark a turning point. Ethan emerged from the camp carrying his gear with practiced ease. He scanned the forest carefully, as always, but his eyes quickly found Leora. She stood on a small rise, watching the human camp. Ethan smiled and gestured for her to join him. She approached cautiously, her glowing patterns rippling with curiosity and anticipation. Over the past days, their bond had grown from cautious curiosity to a deep mutual respect. Leora had come to admire humans not just for their intelligence, but for their courage, empathy, and ability to protect and inspire trust. Ethan had learned to appreciate the beauty and intelligence of her species, and more importantly, the emotional depth that connected them. Ethan spoke softly, though he knew Leora might not fully understand every word. We've learned much from each other, he said, and I think we've proven that trust and courage can create something stronger than fear. Leora tilted her head, her glowing skin shimmering in soft shades of violet and blue, signaling understanding. The team had finished their research and documented their findings. It was time for Ethan and his crew to return to their ship. But leaving Zephyra was not simple. The rival species that had threatened them still lingered at the edges of the forest. A final test awaited, not of courage alone, but of unity and trust. The team gathered near the landing site, preparing equipment and organizing supplies. Leora remained nearby, her glowing patterns shifting in anticipation. She had never accompanied humans to a spacecraft before, and the strange metal structure filled her with awe and curiosity. She watched as Ethan and his crew worked efficiently, each movement precise, confident, and deliberate. Suddenly, a shadow passed through the trees. A pack of the rival alien creatures appeared, larger and more aggressive than before. Their eyes glowed with intent, and they moved with calculated precision, surrounding the humans' path to the landing site. Ethan's team reacted quickly. Drones were deployed, non-lethal deterrents activated, and holographic barriers flickered to life. Leora observed the strategy, learning from their coordinated movements. She realized that humans did not rely on brute strength alone. They used intelligence, planning, and courage in perfect harmony. The creatures advanced cautiously, testing each barrier, each light, each sound. Ethan and Leora moved together, a synchronized team of human intuition and alien instinct. She guided them through hidden paths, signaling safe routes with her glowing patterns, while he directed the team with calm authority. A sudden movement startled them. A creature leapt from the shadows directly toward Leora. Ethan reacted without hesitation, placing himself between her and danger. His arms moved instinctively, blocking the attack and guiding her to safety. The creature recoiled, confused and wary of the human's unexpected bravery. Leora's glowing skin blazed in vibrant shades of gold and violet, signaling both relief and admiration. She had witnessed humans act with courage, protectiveness, and cleverness all at once. In that moment, she understood that humans were extraordinary, not just intelligent but capable of acts of heroism driven by empathy and care. The creatures hesitated, circling the humans once more. Ethan seized the opportunity. Using a combination of drones, holographic barriers, and Leora's natural signaling abilities, he guided the group safely toward the landing site. Leora mirrored his actions, moving with grace and precision, her glowing patterns directing both humans and creatures alike. Finally, they reached the edge of the landing site. The creatures, overwhelmed by the humans' courage and strategy, retreated into the forest. Ethan exhaled deeply, feeling the weight of relief settle over him. Leora's glow softened, a gentle ripple of satisfaction passing across her body. The humans prepared the ship for departure. Leora walked beside Ethan, observing the process with awe. She had never seen technology like this, a creation of intelligence and ingenuity that allowed humans to travel between worlds. She felt a strange combination of curiosity and admiration. Ethan knelt slightly, extending a hand to Leora. "It's time for me to return," he said softly, "but I promise I will come back." Leora paused, her glowing patterns flickering nervously. She had grown attached to humans, especially to Ethan. His courage, patience, and kindness had inspired her, and leaving him was difficult. Yet she understood the importance of trust and hope. She reached out, touching his hand gently. The contact was brief but full of meaning, a silent exchange of respect, admiration, and connection that transcended words. Ethan smiled, feeling the warmth of the moment. "You're beautiful," he whispered again, softly and sincerely. Not for her appearance alone, but for her courage, intelligence, and openness to understanding another species. Leora froze for a heartbeat. Her skin shimmered in brilliant cascading patterns reflecting astonishment, gratitude, and something new, something she had not felt before. She had been admired before, respected perhaps, but this recognition from another intelligent being touched her deeply. It was a moment of truth that would remain in her memory forever. She did not speak, but her glowing patterns conveyed everything Ethan could wish to hear. Soft blues and gentle golds flowed across her skin, a silent response that said without words, "I understand, and I will remember." The humans climbed aboard the ship, preparing for launch. Leora remained on the ground, watching intently, her glowing patterns dimming slightly as they departed. Ethan looked back once more, his hand raised in farewell. She mirrored him, a final gesture of connection between two worlds. The engines ignited, lifting the ship gently into the sky. Leora's eyes followed it until it became a small dot against the vast expanse of Zephyra's twin suns. She felt a quiet sense of hope, curiosity, and anticipation. She knew that humans were capable of extraordinary things, and she knew that Ethan would return. After the ship disappeared from view, Leora wandered back into the forest. She touched the glowing plants, listened to the soft hum of the trees, and felt the wind through her hair. The forest had always been beautiful, but now it seemed even more alive. She had learned something profound, that humans were more than explorers. They were beings capable of courage, kindness, and inspiration. Back on the ship, Ethan watched Zephyra fade into the distance. He thought about Leora, about her intelligence, her grace, and the way she had trusted him. Humans often measured success by knowledge gained or discoveries made, but this connection was something far greater. It was proof that the human spirit, with its courage, patience, and empathy, could create bridges even across the vastness of space. Over the next hours, the ship traveled toward orbit, leaving Zephyra behind. Ethan stood near the window, gazing at the planet that had changed him more than any mission ever could. He reflected on what he had learned, that humans could inspire trust, admiration, and even love, not through dominance or technology alone, but through patience, understanding, and small acts of kindness. He smiled quietly, thinking of Leora. One day he knew he would return, and when he did, the bond they had formed would be stronger, built not just on curiosity but on respect, admiration, and hope. Meanwhile, on Zephyra, Leora sat beneath a great tree, her glowing pattern soft and calm. She reflected on the human's actions, on Ethan's courage, and on the simple yet profound words he had spoken. "You're beautiful." She had been stunned, yes, but more than that, she had been inspired. Humans were capable of touching hearts across worlds, and she would never forget the lesson. The night deepened, and the glowing forest whispered softly in the wind. Leora rose, feeling a sense of purpose she had never experienced before. Humans had shown her that trust, courage, and kindness could change the world, or at least change a heart. She felt a quiet determination to explore more, learn more, and perhaps one day meet the humans again, ready to share knowledge, friendship, and mutual admiration. And somewhere, across the vast expanse of space, Ethan thought the same thing. Humans were explorers, yes, but they were also messengers of hope, capable of forming bonds that transcended species, distance, and language. Zephyra had proven it. Courage, patience, and a simple act of admiration could leave an impact far greater than anyone could imagine. As the stars shimmered outside the spacecraft window, both human and alien looked to the future, bound by the memory of their encounter. The bond they had formed was fragile but profound, a reminder that understanding, trust, and admiration were universal languages that could change hearts, bridge worlds, and inspire hope in even the most unexpected places. The adventure had ended, but the story of connection and courage had only just begun, and somewhere deep in their hearts, both Ethan and Leora knew that one day, across the vast distance of space, they would meet again.